Next up is the session, Driving Innovation and Growth in Teams.
I am super excited about this session. There's so much going on about kind of AI and people. And so this is really a session to bring everything together as well. So I'm delighted to introduce Kamari Williams, who probably has one of the best job titles as Chief Vibe Officer, coming to the stage. We also have Alex Rodriguez, who's VP of People Experience at EA. And we also have Claudette, who's Senior Vice President for People of BSI Group. So again, an amazing session with people and talent leaders that we've got here today. So again, look, let's set the stage. Right now, every company is balancing two forces, right? One side, the need for AI productivity. The other side, how do we kind of protect human culture? How do we protect teams and everything that we bring to the AI conversation? So I'd love to start off with a question to all of you, which is, with that balance, what's the main leadership focus that all of you have to really keep that balance in check?
I'm happy to start. I would say we're really focused on resilience and trust within our culture. I think without the trust from our workmates, it's really hard to proceed with an AI strategy and figure out how that will continue to resonate with people if the bedrock of trust isn't there.
Amazing.
Yeah, thanks for that. Great points. For us, I think it's about critical human-first leadership. And what I mean by that is human-first AI with a growth mindset and not losing critical thinking as part of the process. I think there's probably moments in time where our employees are thinking, like, what is it? What's in it for me? Yeah. Or how do I leverage it? Or how do we keep the balance between technology and the human factor? And so I think those three areas are really critical and really important.
Claudette, what would you add?
Thanks, Dion. And just to say that I'm delighted to be on stage with these great leaders. And for the BSI Group, who I work for, we're very much, and I agree with both Alex and Kamari, that it is about people, being very people-centered. So for me, the technology is one thing, but actually being very human and making sure that actually the human side of what we're doing is the most important. So we see, if you like, AI and digital to be complementary to our people, and we're a very people-centered business, and without that, we're not as competitive as everybody else.
Amazing thoughts. And I suppose the big thing is AI, in this new AI era, it's all about learning, relearning, as organizations, as teams, as leaders, ourselves. But Kamari, just going to you and to your point, how do you make sure that talent teams are keeping up with everything that's going on, that they're learning, that they're navigating everything that we're going through at the moment?
Yeah, I would say it's exactly what we're just talking about. It's that human-centric approach. And so one of the things that we've done is we've identified the fact that, yes, there is going to be some fear or trepidation, but how do you address that head on and make sure, A, your strategy is human-centric, but with that, we are clear with our workmates that we're focused on you prioritizing AI to leverage the more administrative tasks or the repetitive tasks, the tasks that can be done by technology, to free you up to reinvest time in the more strategic parts of your job. And so one of the things that I'm really proud about our organization and things that we've done is that we've really democratized the use of AI. So instead of certain teams or a few teams having access to it, our entire organization has access to Gemini. Our entire organization has Notebook LM, for example. And so our information technology leader has just done a phenomenal job of ensuring that everyone has access, which is important, obviously. Making sure that equitably people can have exposure to upskilling, for example. And so in addition to even that, we had this year AI-specific goals. And so every workmate was responsible for ensuring that they were taking proactive steps to whatever they established as far as their goal was on their own, but everyone in our organization, all the way up to our executives, had to have an AI goal so that they don't get left behind. So it's important to us.
And in terms of, not getting left behind, there's also in the talent space a lot of folks talking about talent war, right? There's a war for talent at the moment, in a good war. million-dollar offers that we're seeing, billion-dollar offers if some of you are lucky to receive some of those. And so, Claudette, when you think about the talent play, okay, with people in the organization, that's one thing about learning and helping them develop, but how are you attracting that AI talent into the companies in this kind of environment?
So when we think about what people are attracted to, for us, our purpose is a big thing. So at BSI, our purpose really is about making an impact for the good of society and a sustainable world. So that is one thing that actually we can see that has changed generations. They want to know, what are we doing for other people? They're not really necessarily interested in our financial targets, but actually, are we doing something that's going to make a difference to me, my children, and future generations? So that's one thing. The other thing is, when we recruit now, it's not necessarily about bringing somebody in to do one role. When our AI talent, we set up an AI business unit. So the AI talent that we are bringing in, they're now looking very much at, so what can you do about continuing to make me very much at the forefront of innovation? So we look very much at this is how you can help clients, but also what can you do with your AI knowledge and expertise to help colleagues in the business, help the way that we work, the way that we operate. So we're now looking very much at, you have got a dual responsibility in terms of accountability in your roles. So it's not just one track. And that's really, so very much about the purpose, very much about what can I do with my AI expertise and keeping at the forefront. So not sort of thinking, well, actually I've come in and we are not doing anything with you as a business. So.
Amazing points. I mean, following on, Kamaru, from kind of your answer, Alex, in terms of thinking about, if AI is giving us the ability to have extra time, right, to not tackle the administrative tasks, but actually tackle, some of the harder tasks or some of the harder issues, I suppose, how are you thinking about, all those hidden strengths, and so that people can maximize on what they're doing and their role?
No, great question. I would say the one-size-fits-all approach to leadership and managing and engaging employees is long gone.
Yeah, it's over.
And so, yeah, it definitely is, especially in the spirit of AI. I think I'll speak for myself. I really do take a personalized approach to development. We do at EA as well. All managers do. And so we sit down, we do a lot of listening, and we probably don't do enough listening, but we do a lot of listening. We gather feedback. I want to understand my team's superpowers, the individual superpowers. I want to know what their aspirations are, what their goals are. How does technology help support all of those things? And so we take that approach, and we help them create these. I know development plans are not anything new,
yep.
But I will tell you, if my team was here, they tell you they're all in stretch assignments. I stretch my teams. I put them in uncomfortable positions because just like coal, they turn into diamonds, right, when you apply pressure. And so those individual development plans, taking a unique perspective on their development and working through that with them, I think is just going to enable them to be more receptive to technology, AI, career growth, all the things.
Kamaru, anything on that to add in terms of when we're thinking about, again, if we're kind of taking away the burden of some of those like mundane tasks and some of the more innovative stuff, like what are some of the things in EA that you're kind of looking at to help people do more of the innovative stuff?
Yeah, I would say it allows time for just that strategic thinking. And it's often a buzzword, I would say, in corporate America, is like strategy, strategic thinking. But the truth is, a lot of us don't have time to think more strategically, don't have time for bigger picture thinking because we are tied up with the administrative things. And so I do think it allows our workmates to reinvest their time in ways that are really positive, in ways that help them stretch for the next opportunity. And so one of the things that keeps me up at night a little bit is, how do we prepare the next generation of leaders? Because we have such a push for use of AI, there are things that I look at professionally that just made me sharp over the years.
Yeah.
Writing an email to an executive, like, to be able to do that is like, right? Like the skill set it takes to be able to write a crisp email or build a deck. People don't have to do that anymore. I can throw that thing in Gemini in like 30 seconds, and it is way better than anything I could ever create.
I hope you're editing though.
First draft, right? First draft.
Okay, yep, I do, ish. And so I think it's important for us to figure out, like, how do we create the next generation of leaders? And you do that by allowing them to now start to think strategically. Because if they're not doing some of that reinvestment of their time and staying sharp, it is very possible for AI to, I don't want to say dumb us down, but like, it could happen. Yeah. So what are you doing with your brain power?
And, I'll ask all of you, as, we're all leaders, how are we thinking about, in this time of speed, everything is fast, there's a million different models coming out. How are we thinking about absorbing all of that? Or how are you thinking about your teams being able to organize all of that, but still without burning out, right? Because there's a balance between, we want to make great productivity strides, we want to, embed and use and leverage AI tools, as we've all said, but, there's also a human cost. And a lot of folks are feeling overwhelmed. A lot of folks are feeling like, I've got so many things to learn and not enough hours in the day. So how are you helping kind of the leaders in your organization, but also kind of the team and the general kind of employees think about, how do we absorb it and do it? And yes, we want to become more AI kind of first, but I also don't want to burn out at the same time as well. And I know all of you are focused on, not just people, but also culture, belonging, and making sure that people's mental health can stand up at the end of it.
I could take this one. I will start. I think the immediate reaction is usually to throw more bodies against a problem or an issue, right? And throwing more bodies or more effort against it. You talked about a bit about burnout. For us, I think it's about creating the right environment, and that right environment includes giving our employees autonomy, giving them the ability to trial and error.
Yeah.
I think it's also creating systems around them that enable them to do their best work. And then there's a component of resilience. There's a component of getting used to change. I feel like change is the new norm. Right? It's now upside down. It's like the steady state, for at least in my mind, doesn't exist anymore. So if we can get folks to be adept at change and operating with, in that change environment and doing it well, I think creating that environment is going to help them and then reduce burnout at the same time.
Claudette?
Yeah, so we've been on a transformation journey. So I would say this is not a one-stop. So individuals within our organization have seen, if you like, a change from where we were to where we were going. And we were very clear and intentional about actually we're going to look after our people on that journey. And we put in a leadership framework and where it was very much about building relationships and making sure that actually people felt they could be flexible in terms of what they do. It was about shaping. So actually, what's the future? What's the future telling me? And people want to know, where are we going? So it was about that. And very much it was about inspiration. So inspirational leadership. So one of the things that we did put in was very much about flexibility. So we have a number of our colleagues who work 9 in 10. We're very much about output. So that takes off the pressure of people thinking, I need to work 9 to 5. And we worked with another consultancy called PA Consulting, very much prior to COVID, I have to say. And we put in our flexible ways of working, and that helps with well-being. So not very much about, you need to do this, this, and this. One thing that we learned and our individuals told us, they love autonomy, which Alex has mentioned. They love flexibility, but they also love the fact that actually if I have an inspired leader, they're more likely to make sure they look after me and my well-being, and I've got an investment in the business. So that's what we're doing with our people.
Amazing. Kumari, anything that you'd add on that?
I don't have much to add, but I will say making sure that our leaders are skilled in creating inclusive spaces, I think, is also important. And I think so often we are focused on the business priorities, which are really important. Don't get me wrong, we are all business leaders first, and we get the pleasure of doing additional work on top of that. But I will also say that I don't want to make creating inclusive spaces, treating people with respect and dignity as optional.
Yeah.
It's not an or, it's both. And so our leaders often have been allowed to kind of be let off the hook a little bit around that part of it. And I don't think that today's environment allows for it. The leader of today and the future has to be good at both. Has to. It's too much going on in the world to, if you're not skilled at being able to treat people well, it doesn't work out for you too well. So I think that's important too.
Well, any advice, or what advice would you give to leaders out there thinking about, I've got all these business priorities, I've got all these targets that I've got to get. In some cases, I've got earnings. Like, how should they be thinking about building those inclusive cultures? Where does it start?
I think you actually have to care about people. I mean, and you can't manufacture that.
Yeah, you can't make it
like
up.
either you do or you don't.
Yeah.
And so for some people, you're going to have to try to fake it a little bit, right? Because I do think you're going to get called to the carpet a lot at most organizations largely because your employee populations are demanding it.
Yeah.
And I know for me, I can't leave who I am and my pain at the door. And so I go to work, I show up every day, but I'm still faced with whatever the challenges are in my home. Many of us are caregiving not just for our immediate families, we've got aging parents, and we've got this background of like whatever's happening in the world. And so I do think that managers need to just turn that on, care first, and ask probing questions. Maybe start your one-on-one and just saying, how are you? How are you? Just real basic. So I don't think this has to be earth-shattering, but when you make space for it and force yourself to make space where people will open up when they see you're genuine.
Amazing. I mean, quick fire, all of you have said that AI is helping you, right? The email, the first drafts or second drafts, and everything in between. But I just want to know what is working, what are we all trying, what are you personally finding that's helping you move forward with AI tools in your day-to-day?
I can start. I think we're all busy, and I'll probably, to the umpteenth degree, we're all busy, right? I think what we've got to do is make space for employees to learn, to try, to fail, and we always talk about failing fast, right? So failing fast, learning from your mistakes, leveraging the tools, leveraging the processes. The tools are amazing, by the way, first draft or second draft. But giving them that space to do that, because we get caught up in the day-to-day. We have to deliver for shareholders and all the folks involved, and creating that space is super important. At EA, we've taken on this initiative, we call it Dev Days, and we do development days throughout the year, just by function, and then we have a global event coming up in December. Shameless plug for Dev Days. But it is a time for folks to get together, experiment, learn from one another, coach, sponsor, engage, mentor, and we dedicate a couple of days out of the year very specifically to it. And so I think creating those opportunities, I think, is important, especially from an adoption perspective. And if you really want your employees to embrace the tools, you got to figure out a way to do it.
Amazing. Kumari, outside of Gemini, that's maybe one of your favorite tools. What else are you using in the AI kind of tool cabinet?
You know what I used recently was Notebook LM.
Okay.
Okay, and I loaded my profile from an assessment that I did, and I loaded some other information about myself, and I said, coach me on how to be a better leader.
Yeah.
And it gave me a podcast back of how I can be a better leader using my, I don't know if it was DISC or whatever profile, I think Instinctive Drives, that's what it was. And so leveraging my Instinctive Drives assessment helped me be a better leader, and it gave me 45 minutes on like how to be a better Kumari. So that's just one example, and I listened to the whole thing, and it gave me really good actionable feedback on this long document that I could not reasonably consume in like something that was a little bit more succinct.
Amazing. Plug for Google. Claudette, which?
Well, I love Copilot 365, so that's one of my faves. So one of the things that we have done with our employees was really, we looked at Gallup's strengths profiles, and this very much says, actually, people respond better when we talk about their strengths rather than actually where they've got gaps. And when you're thinking about very much about working in a team, not everybody has the same strengths. And for us, that really is helpful. Rather than everybody trying to be up here, it's kind of like, I'm up here this, you are up here. What about if we pool our strengths together, we can make an awesome team. So that's what we've been doing. And there's lots of research. As I said, we used Gallup's research, which actually says that people perform better. They are more engaged when we talk about their strengths rather than we talk about their gaps. You don't actually decide you don't hide away or shy away from those gaps. But actually, if you elevate someone's strengths, you see a different, you experience a different outcome. The person experiences a different feeling about what they do, and what they're really great at. So that's
amazing. Well, look, we've got 2 rapid fire questions to end. I want to ask all of you, because you're all people leaders in tech, right? And so there's a lot, like normally from our BTF audience, we have about 40% who are super technical engineers, data scientists.
Yes.
We also have the majority that don't come from a tech background. I suppose for all of you, what would be your advice for folks, not coming from a tech background, trying to make it in and trying to understand, especially all of your companies that are now kind of embracing AI and really adopting AI, where do they fit in? How do they learn? What would be your key advice for some of our non-technical folks out there?
Sorry, is your question around how they get into tech?
How they get in, but also how do they, especially if they're coming from a non-tech company, how do they kind of navigate once they're in?
Yeah, I think. Sorry, I'm gonna.
Yeah, go
on. I think. I think folks educating themselves early on. I know it sounds super obvious, but educating themselves about the company, and I think you alluded to this with I call it superpowers, you call it strengths. But I think understanding what your superpowers are and how that fits into the equation of the organization. Even working in tech, I work in HR. There's finance. Yeah. There's other functions that you could go into that lean more towards your strength. And if tech is your strength, then be the best tech person. Come in prepared. And really, wow the employer, wow the interviewer. And so I think there's a component around preparation, but also understanding what your strengths are and not having to take a traditional view of if I want to go work in gaming or if I want to go work in tech, I have to go do this.
Yeah.
Project management is super important. Program management, product management, all of those things are super critical in any organization. And so if that's your strong suit, then lean into that and go down that path versus trying to force fit yourself into what you think is the right role for yourself.
Amazing advice.
I don't have anything to add. That was good.
Very good. Claudette?
Yeah, that was excellent. For me, it's the curiosity. So if you just want, you just want to find out what is going on, because I think there's a role for everybody. There is so many things that are going on. So let's just go and find out. Within our business, we set up an AI business unit, and that was really about regulating AI, because you hear the kind of questions: is AI good, a force for good, or is it otherwise? Actually, if you can give trust to people that actually AI is great, this is the way to use it. So as a sort of, I would say I was a bit of a technophobe. I love it now. It's kind of find out, just be curious, and that's one of the things that, that's one of the advice that I would give, really.
Amazing. Well, look, last fire round question is, in terms of, when we think about the most critical advice and future leaders, thinking about how do you actually future-proof your teams, especially in this environment, we've always talked about it. What would be the kind of key parting advice for our audience who, again, maybe team managers, might be leaders in their own business? How best can they future-proof teams? Kamari, starting by you. I want to change the order.
I will say change management, or at least embracing change, is critical. It's critical. It's one of the things that we're navigating today, is making sure that people are adapting well to the pace of change, and it's not going to slow down. It will continue to. It's going to continue to be aggressive, and it doesn't matter what industry you're in. There's just a lot of change, and so I think if you can help people settle in a little bit as changes are happening, that definitely will be something that's a skill that all of us need and will continue to need.
And keep being comfortable with the
That's
change
right.
when it
And know that, and I'm going to wake up today and it's going to be something different. And that will happen every single day, and get to a point where you have some resilience in the face of change. It goes a long way, especially with your leaders, right? It's those people that are resistant to the fact that there is change. And I'm not saying that most organizations get it perfect, because most of us are all struggling with change management. It's difficult. And if you're a person that embraces the fact that, you know what, when I wake up tomorrow, it's likely going to be different, and I'm going to be resilient, and I am going to push through the discomfort of that, I do think that will go a long way as we continue, especially in the AI space.
Yeah. Claudette?
So for us, I think it is very much about leading with clarity, leading with empathy. So those would be the two pieces of advice I would give you in terms of leading your team. And also with agility. I think there needs to be that flexibility that things are going to move, as Kamari just said. Okay.
Alex, bring us home.
Yeah, no, you stop me if you've heard this before. But again, I go back to creating these spaces where people can learn, can try, can fail. I think it's just, when you think about breakthrough innovation, that's what happens. You think about how people learn, it's through trial and error. It's through experience, right? And so giving them that space, helping them adapt and be agile to change, I think is super critical. But I think though there are elements in what we all said, I think is a bit of the ingredients to the formula for allowing employees to be their best.
Amazing. Well, look, there you have it. There you have the gems. There you have the leadership kind of superpowers, as Alex put it. But look, really great. I want to thank, obviously, our audience and our panelists again. Thanks so much for kind of giving real insights and some of the challenges and changes and amazing things that you guys are doing. So thanks, everyone, and I hope everyone enjoyed the session.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you very much, Dion. Thank you, everybody.